You have one time to say that racism does not exist.
First of all, no, I don't think America is a racist country.
You have one time to say that you're not just going to help black people.
I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No.
That's one time too many. Very interesting that the decision for Kamala to run for president coincides with the murder of Sonia Massey. And I've been trying to reconcile the murder of Sonia Massey with a potential president who thinks that racism does not exist. And one of the things, this is an interesting time to be a black woman because people will approach you and ask, are you excited that there's another black woman who could potentially become president? And I can't always find the words to say that I don't identify with this potential future president. I don't identify with her. So, there's definitely a they not like us sort of vibe. Shout out to Kendrick Lamar. You can say what you want. Say what you want about Barack Obama. But I think one of the advantages that he had was that by and large, we knew where he stood. Why? Because he married a black woman. Because he had a super duper black family, right? He called himself a black man. I don't believe I think he pretty solidly identified as a black man. So, he had, some of his jokes and his mannerisms and certain things where the black community, even some of his music references, we kind of could feel him out and say, okay, he's like us. Even though he's not, but he is. And I think with Kamala, there's this still big question mark around her not being like us. And that's going to hurt her with her campaign and in the end. Because the reality is, as a black person, we're always sizing up other black people to determine our blackness. And one of the ways that this happens is that black people tend to respect black people who respect and support other black people. So what I mean is that I respect the black person who I see respects other black people. And I'm not quite sure where Kamala stands, given some of the comments that she's made. And mind you, I am not the most political person. I'm speaking on this because my platform is to make things visible about modern black women. And as a modern black woman, I'm trying to speak on this in a very specific way. I think the general sentiment that a lot of black women have and that the black community has is sort of sizing Kamala up and determining that, in fact, as Kendrick Lamar has said, she is not like us. And how we measure that is in various ways. So one of the ways that could be measured, Kamala being not like us, one could argue is, her marrying a white man. Other people say, well, she doesn't have any biological children. Other people say, well, she didn't get married until her 50s or, maybe late 40s. So there's a lot of ways that as a community, we're trying to size her up. As black women, we are the masters of sizing people up. And there's a huge divide amongst black women. There's this whole rise now of this platform called the Exoticals, where they kind of put, quote, exotic, mixed race, biracial looking black women against the quote unquote standard average looking black women. And that is sort of a rising thing online that I've been seeing. So there's a lot of ways that even amongst Black women, we separate ourselves. We divide ourselves. We determine if said Black woman is like us or not. That is something that we're constantly trying to tease out and decide. Is this Black woman like me or not? And I think the general sentiment about Kamala or Kamala is no, she's not like me. She's not like us. And will this have a bearing in the election? Of course. That's one of the big questions in the Black community, is determining how Black are you? And this is an age-old question. It's not a new question. This is an age-old sort of determining factor of Blackness. Is how Black are you? And so my question is, how Black has Kamala shown herself to be? To be honest with you, again, I'm not super political, but I even sometimes forgot that she was even in the White House. I mean, it wasn't really until all this came about her, now running for president, that I'm like, oh yeah, her? I forgot about her. And now, it could be because, like I said, I'm not super political, so I'm not following every single thing in politics. But it could also be that she has not made herself known to the Black community. She has not spent enough time focused on the Black community. Because to her point, she's not going to do things just to benefit Black people. Her words. That statement, coupled with the statement about there not being racism, you add both of those things together and you have your answer regarding how what the general sentiment is in the Black community about Kamala. And so, I think this election is going to be a very challenging one. You're going to have a lot of people voting. I mean, you are going to have Black women voting for Kamala because she's a Black woman. But you'll also have Black women confused. Perhaps Black women voting for Trump. Black people voting for Trump. And then you also have a lot of Black people who won't even vote. You'll have that too. So it's a very interesting time to be a Black woman. So don't approach other Black women and ask them if they're excited about, who could potentially become president. Don't assume that don't assume that they're going to support another Black woman just because she's Black. Because there's so many things that proves that there's a divide, not only amongst Black people, but also amongst Black women. And Kamala is definitely on the side of the Black women who has proven to separate herself. Sometimes, I hear reports that she identifies as Black, but then she sometimes identifies as Indian, and then perhaps maybe sometimes she identifies as biracial. And we don't really know where she stands. And when you are a Black person that other Black people can't figure out, you become suspicious. And we don't trust you. Because we don't really know, you've only really given us sound bites that are not favorable, coupled with sort of chameleonism. And essentially she's kind of been a chameleon, whether it be regard to race and perhaps some other things. So, yeah, I can't tell you who to vote for. So, this is just my opinion. Comment below and let me know what you think about this. Like, share, and subscribe. Click the links in the description box and get to know what I do with my business, Curated Legacy LLC. Join the Black and Invisible YouTube membership group and purchase my book about being an invisible Black woman on Amazon. Also follow me on Instagram. And as always, I'm here to make the invisible visible about modern Black women. And I highlight the things that Black women would never tell you. And as always, stay tuned for more videos.